Welcome to Critter Crusades, the show about ordinary people on extraordinary missions to help animals. I'm here today with a person from a fabulous group that does amazing things to help animals in Los Angeles, pawsla.org. I'm here with Steve Wayland. Welcome.
Thank you.
Now, you are the Director of Special Programs and Housing for Paws LA.
That's right.
And what do you do at Paws LA specifically? What do you oversee?
I oversee the basic client service. We have approximately 1,700 clients that we assist throughout Los Angeles County. Our clients are made up of people living with life-threatening disabilities, AIDS, cancer, lupus, and low-income seniors. They don't have to be disabled. And we expanded to that population recently because we really saw that there was a real similarity between the senior population and the beginnings of the agency with people with AIDS, when they had no support. The people were really left on their own, and the only support they had was their animal. And so we've always wanted to be able to assist anyone who needed it, but we've had to be limited based on our ability to provide the services. So we have been able to expand somewhat, and we're pretty excited about that. How
did Paws LA begin?
We started, Nadia Sutton is the founder of the agency, and she had some friends who were sick with AIDS, and their families came in and took the animals to the shelter without their knowing it. And when they got back from the hospital, they were devastated because their family had been disrupted. And so that was the beginning. Paws San Francisco was the first organization of its kind, and we modeled ourselves after them. We are now the largest in the country providing the similar services.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah.
And from that, a lot of these different programs began. You started with one specifically geared towards AIDS patients,
yes,
and then it spun off into the different areas.
Yes, and the services that we provide are the same for everyone. We have pet food, vet care, in-home services such as litter box changing, dog walking when the person's not able to, transportation to vet and grooming appointments. We really try to provide anything and everything the person needs to keep the animal in their life. The food we get is often donated, but the vet services we pay. But the vets who we work with work at usually about 50% of their normal prices. So we're able to provide, pretty decent level of services for the clients who are eligible.
And you right now handle about 1,700 clients at a time. Does that mean you have a volunteer force of 1,700? What do you have?
Well, we have probably 300 to 400 volunteers. And what we try to do is if somebody has ongoing daily needs, we do try to find a volunteer in their neighborhood who can help them regularly. A lot of the clients simply need pet food, and we have people who deliver the food on a monthly basis. They need a vet visit every now and then, and we arrange for that. So the 1,700 clients, they're not all coming in every week or month to get services, but there's that many people who are eligible for our services. And again, I think the vet services are probably the most important because all of our clients are on limited income, and it's very difficult to afford, as we know who have animals, how expensive vet care is. In fact, they are saying that vet services are actually going up faster in cost than human health care. So it's a real challenge. We have vets who do provide their services donated. We have a vet who comes in and does shot clinics for us. We have a lab who does free blood work for us. So we really try to maximize all the resources of the community for our clients.
Amazing how you've put all of this together. I have some wonderful tape that you brought today that's going to, I think, give sort of a great overview of everything that you do at Paws LA. So why don't we go ahead and play that and then see what everything is about with Paws LA.
Great.
Yeah.
I spend a lot of time in the day alone, and he's great company.
It gives me a reason for getting up in the morning.
I'd do anything to take care of this guy. Anything. We've been around together for a long time.
Paws was founded in 1988.
It was founded in response to the AIDS crisis.
The mission of Paws LA is to keep people and their animals together when they are in difficult situations.
I learned about Paws LA 13 years ago. They helped me in the early days of the AIDS epidemic.
I started off with Paws well over a decade ago. I had been hospitalized with a brain virus with encephalitis, and all of a sudden I I realized that I wasn't able to take care of myself, let alone the dogs, so enter Paws.
They were the main source of helping me keep my pet alive. They helped me with grooming and doctor's appointments.
A majority of persons living with HIV and AIDS just can't afford a vet bill. They can't afford grooming. They can't afford food. This animal's keeping them alive and is giving them a reason to live.
If you have an animal in your life or you share your household with an animal, I think you know what your animal brings to your life.
The bond between the person and the animal is something so intimate and so visceral because they love us unconditionally.
The reason why, the animal was so important to me when I became HIV positive was because I was so shunned and shut out of the world.
They said, however I feel, whatever I look like, my cat, my dog, thinks I'm the most wonderful and loves me regardless.
There are proven studies that support the notion that animals really do have a healing benefit.
What it does is make the mental and the spiritual aspect flourish, and that keeps a person content, gives them a will to live.
There's so many indicators that have just proven that when animals are in people's lives, they are healthier.
Paws LA provides really a comprehensive range of services for the animals of our clients.
We provide pet food, vet care, in-home services such as dog walking, litter box changing, transportation to vet and grooming appointments.
Paws is really pretty full service when it comes to animals and their clients.
I think they're a very, very good organization, and I think they are needed in the community where there are older people who have pets and need a little assistance.
In the 17 years since the agency was founded, it's really been exciting to see how this agency has grown.
We kept getting phone calls from people who had cancer, who had chronic heart disease, who had lupus, and saying, can you help us? And little by little, we added more services, and we realized that they needed us, and we couldn't say no.
In 2000, the agency expanded to assist people with other life-threatening illnesses and have provided the same service to a larger population of people in need.
We started this new PACE program, which addresses the seniors of limited income who need their animals.
We have found an interesting parallel between our senior population and our HIV clients in terms of their isolation, their feeling of depression, and their need for support in the home with their animals.
Watching it go from just persons with HIV and AIDS to persons with life-threatening illnesses, and to me, that just makes absolute sense and is just so wonderful that everybody can be taken care of.
I live on very low income. When I manage, but the help that Paws gives me is really very, very helpful.
They want to love their animal, and to love their animal, unfortunately, costs money sometimes.
We're really excited about the project that we have in the works with PATH, a local homeless shelter.
People Assisting the Homeless, PATH, and Paws LA, Pets Are Wonderful Support, are working together to create a new program which is greatly needed in the community to provide a shelter program where people with their animals can come and access services, get shelter, get case management, and all of that without having to abandon their animals.
Tengo dos German Shepherd. Me han ayudado mucho en mi depresión. En este momento no tengo hogar donde vivir y mis mascotas están en un shelter.
It's, to our knowledge, the first of its kind in the nation, and it is essentially creating a shelter within a shelter for the animals of homeless individuals.
Those people won't go to a homeless shelter because their animals will not be accommodated.
One of the largest factors in homelessness is lack of support. People are alienated. They just don't feel connected, you know, and sometimes that animal companion is the only kind of, you know, connection that they have to their own humanity, and it's vital.
It's going to be serving a population that currently is being unserved.
And some people, that's all they have. you know. And it's not helping them any to cut them off from the one thing that is positive in their life. It doesn't make any sense.
Just having someone there to give you a little love and share a little compassion with you does a lot for you, your self-esteem, to help you, you know, heal faster and to not make life so lonely.
It gives me that little extra companionship to take any loneliness that might converge on me.
He's the one that didn't abandon me. He was the one that was there for me.
I love you.
Okay, I got to put all the Kleenex away. I'm sure everybody else that watches that, their hearts are just wide open with appreciation for what Paws LA does. It's amazing, and I've always wondered, what do people do when you see them? I've interacted before with homeless that have animals, and getting them food and different things. That is truly their best friend, their protector, their everything. Seniors, I mean, it's proven that they live longer if they have that interaction. I know a lot of nursing homes and different facilities are now allowing people to have animals. What a wonderful thing. How do you engage so many volunteers to go out there, and how do you, what sort of jobs do they do?
Well, I mean, when they see this, I think it helps people really touch them and realize how important the animals are and how important they can be in people's lives by helping provide those services. Our volunteers, we've calculated, we have 5 full-time staff members, and we've calculated that our volunteers provide the equivalent of 3 full-time staff members. So we would not be able to provide many of the services that we do without our volunteers, so they're vital. They do the deliveries of pet food to homebound clients. They man the food bank. We have 2 food banks, one in Hollywood and one in Long Beach, that clients can come and access and volunteers can access to deliver. And we have all volunteers who man those facilities. Dog walking, delivery of food, as I said, taking pets to vet appointments and grooming appointments, fostering. You know, the big issue is a lot of people now are living longer, but they're going into hospitals, they're dealing with drug addiction, they're dealing with a lot of issues now. You know, when I started with the AIDS community, people were dying, and it was end care that we were providing. And we really were focused on helping people find a home for their animal because they weren't going to be able to keep it. Well, the good news is people are living much, much longer, and they now have to make those decisions as to how they're going to live their life. And it often involves confronting their drug abuse. And unfortunately, a lot of those programs are in-house for several months, so finding temporary placement for the animals is really important, and that's one of the areas I think we can always use a help, is people who can take an animal into their home for a short period of time. I mean, I know it's not for anyone, for everyone, because if you have an animal, it's difficult to bring new animals in, but we do try also to do the work inside the client's home. If they're going to be able to keep their apartment, if they're going to be hospitalized for a shorter period of time, then often it's easier to just keep the animal in the environment they're comfortable in.
Like a dog daycare at their own home, just having a dog sitter come in.
Exactly.
There are people set up like that, and I can see how volunteers would enjoy that. That might not be their regular business, and they know that it's not going to interrupt my lifestyle. So people that want to volunteer, they see there's a myriad of ways that they can help, even if it's once a month. They can go do something. And to understand that their neighbor down the street may be that one person that needs the help, they can find out and get in touch with you. They can find out that that neighbor down the street is actually somebody that needs help, and they just have to walk down there.
Exactly, and we, you know, and often people say, I can't afford to help. You know, I've got my own expense. So we continue to provide the food and the vet care if somebody's willing to take care of another person's animal for a short period of time. So we try to take the financial burden off of the volunteer.
So you have lots of different programs, and one thing I find fascinating is the housing education about people that have service animals, and there is such a prejudice about housing with animals to begin with. But people with service animals, how in the world could they say you can't have this animal here if it's helping you pick up the phone or pick up the paper or do these things.
And they do it every day. But the good news is also the state of California has expanded their recognition of service animals to include emotional support.
Wonderful.
So basically all of our clients have an assistance animal that is providing some kind of a service, and that's the area that's most confusing, because people say, well, you're not blind and I don't see a harness on that dog. It can't be a service dog. And in fact now the law, and the federal law to some extent as well, recognize a myriad of services as applying and assisting a person with a disability. One of the things that we discovered was when the laws were written, they were really focused on physical tasks for people, the seeing eye dogs, the hearing alert dogs, seizure alert, fetching dropped items, all physical tasks. But as we've moved on in society, we have recognized how important emotional support is for people. And often the depression and other mental conditions that occur are just as devastating and difficult to overcome as a physical malady.
And I also understand the heart patients, just keeping a calm heart, keeping very calm, an animal can help with that for people. Also, I know...
Lower blood pressure.
Exactly. Blood pressure and all those things. Gosh knows I need my cats for that.
I don't know what I would do without them.
Exactly.
And in fact, they did one study that showed that stockbrokers with a pet had lower blood pressure than stockbrokers with a spouse. So I'm not suggesting that people should get rid of their spouses, but
exactly.
having pets.
But add that animal in there
yes,
too.
exactly. Right,
exactly.
Because it's the non-judgmental affection and love that the animals provide. And that's what the courts very happily recognized, is that the animal doesn't have to provide any kind of specialized task to help the person with the disability, that just the very nature of its nurturing and loving nature can provide a benefit to the person.
So does Paws liaison between an apartment manager or apartment owner and somebody that has the situation? How do you work?
Well, normally we'll get calls from a client that says, I'm being threatened with eviction or I can't find an apartment, and we have brochures and other written information, and we will call landlords and talk with them. Typically, once they are explained the law, there's no problem. Occasionally, landlords get a little bit more intractable, so there's a need to do a little more work. We work with a couple of legal service agencies that are very knowledgeable about the law and are very aggressive in protecting the rights of clients, because the fact is, it is illegal. It is discrimination. It is discrimination based on their disability. Whether they like it or not, animals do help people with disabilities, and their no pet policy cannot supersede what the law and the society has recognized as a beneficial relationship. And so the issue of it being a burden to a landlord has never worked.
And usually they find out time and time again, people with animals are much better tenants. A, because they have something they take care of, they come back home, they're not leaving their house or apartment empty for long periods of time, all of those things. So that really, and it's good when you have buildings that have people that are there quite often, stopping burglaries, just having people around a lot of times.
And because I've managed apartment buildings, and pet owners are just simply more responsible. There's that level of care that they've already incorporated into their life, and my experience has always been that pet owners were better tenants, and unfortunately not all landlords agree, and not all tenants fit that model.
Right. The majority will be that they're more responsible. Right. The future for Paws, where is Paws going?
Well, we have really we're expanding into the housing arena even more. We now provide any assistance to anyone who needs it with a disability, whether you're eligible for our other services. If you're having a housing issue because of an animal and you're disabled, we will provide you assistance. We have recently received a contract for an expanded housing information database that is funded by a federal program, and it's not just for people with animals, it's for people with HIV/AIDS. It's through the HOPWA program, and it's to bring together every possible housing resource that we can find for people with AIDS. And because right now it's very difficult. People are either coming out of a hospital setting or a rehab setting, and we had a client just recently who was literally put onto the street after having been in jail. They went to a rehab facility for a short period of time, and they were checked out. And it's very frustrating. We were able to find them some housing, but it's a vital area. So people always say, what are you doing in the housing arena? And it's because it started with our clients being denied their housing. And there's nothing more vital to somebody's welfare and health than having stable housing. So we were happy to get into it, forced into it because it didn't fit our original mission. But that, I think, is really where we are heading, is trying to make sure that people are housed with their animals.
And that's so wonderful, especially as cities become overcrowded.
Yep.
There's a bigger reason for people to push people out and say, you're not welcome here. And we do have such an aging society because people are living so much longer. And that's one of the things that we have to look at, baby boomers and different people like that. And they're such a great sector to, like you said, to possibly foster or do other things as well, because they're going to be around much longer and they're still very viable. They're out there, they have the accessible income. That's a wonderful group that possibly could be wonderful volunteers and get involved, because they know they're going to be at the next stage after that, and especially if they are childless or whatever, who's going to take care of them? And if they are, animal lovers, they're going to say, I really want to make sure. One of the things I really believe too is people prepare for the inevitable, what's going to happen, in case of, their own passing. What do you do to advise people, or how do you deal with someone that is, passing on and their animals there? I know you're not a rescue group, so what happens? What does Paws LA do?
When we enroll new clients, we always discuss the issue of who will take care of your animal if you're not able to. That we aren't an adoption agency, and we just discuss our experience, meaning that family and friends are the most likely source for adoption if the animal can no longer be kept by them. And most people, at least give it thought, and they've contacted their family or friends, so the dialogue has begun. It doesn't always, in fact, very often doesn't result in the animal being placed with those people. But now they at least are aware that there's an issue, and so when the person does pass away, they're more likely to be involved in helping to find the animal a home. We work with lots of different rescue groups, and of course the fact is a lot of the animals do end up getting adopted through our volunteers, and I have 3 cats at home, and all 3 of them were originally belonged to clients.
You fell for it.
I fell for it. Hook, line, and sinker, and it's one of the things that's difficult with the foster programs when people fall in love with the animal. It's often the attachment issues begin with that, but that's normally a good thing. We don't look at attachment as a bad thing.
Right, exactly.
And finding potential homes for the animal is.
But it's the situation that do animals get dumped on you? Do people do families say, well, you were responsible here, you take care of this? Because I know you get all types of people in all different sectors. I mean, is that a big problem that you have, or just a small?
It's a small problem, but it's an issue, and and when people don't understand what the agency does, they assume that if we're an animal agency that we must do adoption, and so we will have animals dumped on our doorstep with no indication of where they came from. Again, that's fairly uncommon, but it does happen, and and the families. Early on, we had really some horrible situations where somebody was dying of AIDS, their family had disowned them.
Right.
But once they died, would come in to take all their assets, except their animals, and they would clean out the apartment and leave the animals abandoned in the apartment. That doesn't happen very often anymore, thank goodness.
Yes.
But just the issue of finding homes for animals, particularly older animals, is, as anybody who's working in any kind of animal rescue, it's just not easy to find homes for every animal that needs one. But we all do our best.
Right. And yet it seems like you have a wonderful advisory board and board of directors that gets out there and makes things happen. That's so important for a nonprofit. I know different people that want to start their own groups or get involved, they need to know they need to have an organization that gets behind people that get behind this organization. It sounds like you have such a wonderful core group of people that do this. In these last moments, what are some of the most important things people should do to think about their neighbors or their family or the people that have these life-threatening illnesses or the elderly, so that they can help these animals as well?
I think the most important thing is for people to really attempt to appreciate how important the animal is to that person. And even when they're aging or they're sick or they're dying, in fact, more so, the animal is probably going to be more important. The importance of the volunteers via the neighbors and family just can't be overstated. That element, we don't get to see that so often, but someone will see their neighbor is ill or their neighbor is aging, and they'll contact us, and we can set up services. So we always say, let us help, but we can't help unless we know that the help is needed. So I think that's something that anybody can do when they see a neighbor who may be struggling, and whether we can help or not, we will certainly refer you to other organizations. And our goal is to never hang up the phone without having given someone some sort of a resource for the animals.
Always look in your backyard and your neighborhood and help those people around. It's so great to find out that Paws LA is out there helping these people. What you do is so absolutely amazing, and I want to thank you so much for all that Paws LA does. I know so many people watching this show too they're going to just say, I'm going to get involved. I'm going to volunteer right now and I'm going to go help. And I think it's just the best organization, because it's not just that one out there rescuing the animals off the street. Not like that's not needed. It's desperately needed. But what you do is that home interaction that is so vital. Thank you again so much for coming on. Wish Paws LA great good fortune with everything they're doing.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us on Critter Crusades. It's the show about ordinary people on extraordinary missions to help animals. And go out there, think about your neighbors. Think about what they're doing. Think about, is that person elderly? Have you ever seen that person come out and take out their trash and you go, I see a lot of cat cans. I wonder how many animals they have. They don't even look like they can really take care of that animal themselves. That might be the neighbor that needs some help. Knock on the door, say hello, get to know them. Also, when you know somebody that's very ill, just put out that extra effort and say, can I help you with your animal? It'll make all the difference in the world. Thanks for joining us.